Hi guys, nice to see you again. So let's continue the discussions about the easy UIDesigner. So now this time we'll speak about controller and all this lazy Hager stuff. But first, I have a question. How can I install the REST API context? So let's start by this procedure. So how do you get that tool? So it's easy. First, you have to go to the community. So go to bonitasoft.com, then have a look to the community. You go to contribute, project, and you search for the REST API context. Here we are. Here it is, the REST API context, and then you just click on download. So you get it. Then you go to your server. So you can do that in your Bonita server or inside the studio. And you have to go to, that's too big, to administrator, resources. No, click on add here, and then you select the zip files that you just download. And that's it. So you have it after. And look, if I look here, here it is, REST API context. So it's here, okay? So when you have it, it's easy to use. You just branch something like the form input, because I like the form input. And this is the REST API you have to use, okay? API context, and you branch that by the task ID or the case ID or process, because you can reuse the same REST API for the case overview and from the instantiation. So remember the example, one form per process. This is because thanks to the REST API context. Okay, and task ID why I use this variable here, because that's why I have here comment up by default it is a task ID here. Okay, it's a URL parameters. So actually doing that, I don't need to have the context. I can delete it. I don't need it anymore, because with the REST API context, I get a lot of information, and all the information you have in the context, you have in the REST API context, and you have more than that. If you look here again, so you have what we call the context, and in the context, you have process definition, but you have the case ID, you have the username, the people, and so on and so on. You have all the information. You have as well if the user is an administrator or not. So if you want to display something because this is an administrator, so you can do that. Okay. And that's it. With that, your life will change, because when you build a new forms, just immediately branch the REST API context, and that's it. You can use it.
Wow, PY, this is great. The REST API context is awesome. I'm going to use it right away. But I have another question. How does the REST API work with the lazy, eager behavior? I believe Marvin had the same issue. Can you enlighten me?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sir Bobby. You know, in France, we have an expression with ne chat échaudé craint l'eau chaude, which means typically the cat, when he go to the hot water after he pay attention to that, which are, okay, no sense. No, you tell me if you have an expression like this in the US. So here, of course, you have to pay attention to the lazy or eager. But look, with the REST API context, you don't care. Just you don't care. You get every time the REST API context will load everything. The REST API context will explore all the different relations and will give you all that element in one shot. Of course, maybe you don't want to have everything on your, for example, you don't need the planning, or you want to hide some information like the role of stage, you don't want to show that to one specific user. So you have to look on the documentation of the REST API context. This development was made for a university, and of course the security is very, very important for a university. So believe me, it's handled, and you can pilot the REST API context to decide what you want to send on the browser side or not. But it's possible, and of course you manage that on the server side, because the security is a question of the server and not on the browser. Is that Clear?
Okay, great. Thanks, PY. But what about my second concern, the control of the screen? For instance, I would like to hide and show some part of the screening according to the data. So how do I do that?
So remember in the previous video, we use the REST API context behind the form input to get in one shot everything that we need in your forms. So it's easy to use a MVC, design, and then I created a form controller variable, and inside you can put the controller you want. So here, for example, I decided that it's false, and I'm waiting for the result of the form input to say that it's really true. So doing that, I can disable everything in my forms until I get the REST API. And because only one REST API, it's easy to do. Imagine when you have in the previous forms 20 or 30 REST API, it's just impossible to do something like this. And then you can do all the control you want. Here, for example, I do a simple one. I check all the scene, and if I detect that one name is empty, then I just put a warning that the scene is not good. I can compare to date, or I can do some calculations, or do what you want. So let's have a look what's happened here. No, here. Let's back to the user. Then it will be the easy access. Let's enlarge that. Okay. And then, so I get all my informations. And then if I, for example, remove one complete name, then I will get an error. Okay, that's a controller. I do that. And so I can put again a name, and then the error disappear. And if I uncheck that, then you see I just disable. And of course, it's very simple here. The controller is there. I can do that directly in my widget, of course. But if I do that by the controller, in one locations, I put all the different control, which is better for the maintenance. And what is nice with this way of doing, it's now you have one JavaScript to control everything. And this is so easy and so maintainable. Okay, so that's my best advice here. Using that way, you will love the UIDesigner. I do some awesome thing with the designer because this is a great tool, but don't try to use or by default you may have a lot of nightmare using the default generation. So every time I use a default to generate all the different widgets, and after I use a controller, I branch the form input, I rename my variable, and I can reuse the same form for all my tasks, so I save a lot of times and I can do really some awesome, and the maintenance is very nice. Okay, I hope now it's clear for you how to use that, and you will do some awesome forms now.
Wow, that's great. Thanks a lot, PY. Well, I'm gonna go jump to it right away. I'm gonna go back home with my little dog, and I hope that the day will be better than it is right now. Thanks, bye-bye.